Hey everybody. Wanted to tell you about what's going on this week with the Taurus Lunar Eclipse on Tuesday, November 8th at 7 in the morning Eastern Time. I'll show you a chart of that in a sec. But uh, when I was living in New Orleans, my friend lived in the French Quarter on the Esplanade side, so kind of away from the tourist area. But I remember one night we went out to the Quartermaster Deli, and I think that was on Bourbon Street, maybe Charters. But this cook came out of the rest of the store, and the termites. There were a couple days every year where the termites would just come out in these clouds around the streetlights, and this cook came out and he's like, "They're swarming, they're swarming," and they really were. I mean, it was just like being in a cloud made up of termites. And their swarming is like a really good way to think about this week. So there are four factors. And when I talk about they, I'm talking about the parasites. So the parasites, right? There's this global parasite with a capital P, is the way I look at things. You might call it the matrix. Jason over at Archaics would call it AIX. But there's this kind of global inorganic entity that feeds off of human suffering and its little minions, invisible minions, but you feel them. We call parasites, and they feed off of human misery. And basically, from this point of view, the entire system that we live in, the system of the world, the simulation, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, is has been co-opted. And so the parasites are harvesting energy. And well, how do they do that? When you're sad, mad, in pain, despairing, depressed, then that's easy for them to get in. Your boundaries get weak. It's easy for them to get in and harvest your energy. So eclipses, we have generally two eclipses in two eclipse seasons, 6 months apart. So every year there's usually four eclipses. I think we had 6 in 2020. Go factor that in, if you will. But eclipses are these energy accelerator moments where things that have been simmering in the background tend to come to the surface. And so they're actually designed to help us in our evolution. They move things forward radically, but sometimes it can feel really destructive or unexpected. And so with a major total lunar eclipse, blood moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, and that eclipse moon is conjunct Uranus, the awakener, the enlightener, the outer planet of sudden shocking transformation. Uranus is always trying to set us free. In the energy system, it's the descending channel of the Kundalini. And Uranus tends to operate like lightning. It's this very sudden, shocking on-off burst of higher vibrational cosmic energy. So having an eclipse in the same degree as Uranus is very uncommon, and it's a total eclipse. And this is a big one. Taurus is the sign of the earth esoterically. And so we can expect lots of shocks, lots of surprises. So that would be enough, in and of itself. And also, there are three other factors that are tying into this. So right now, when I'm recording this on Monday morning, we're just into the 16th degree of Scorpio, where the sun is. And so the sun's at 1519 Scorpio, I think. So the 16th degree, which is known as the cross quarter degree, or this is one of the cross quarter days in the natural, some people would say pagan, but the natural earth calendar. And the cross quarter days are really significant because astrologically, they make a hard aspect to the Aries point, which is ground zero of the world horoscope. And the Aries point is something that tends to tie us all into the collective consciousness, so whether we want to be tied in or not, if we're not aware of it, right? And so I'm going to talk about that in a second. But cross quarter days are significant. The people that run this shit show that we call the matrix or the simulation, so sometimes called the global elite, the cabal, the controllers, these people who are actually minions for what Jason would call artificial intelligence X, what I would call the parasite or the matrix. They are really, really good occultists and magicians, or they employ really, really good occultists and magicians. And so they use these pagan holidays, the cross-quarter days, to work black magic on the people. So I'm going to take a look at this eclipse chart and show you what I'm talking about here. So here's the eclipse, 7:01 a.m. Washington, D.C., November 8th, Tuesday. They love having things like election day, big circuses on these powerful energy moments, because then they can harvest a lot more energy, right? So we'll talk about that in a sec too. But we got the sun in Scorpio, conjunct Mercury, and I talked about the degree symbols of the key degrees in the eclipse with Tatiana Phoenix on our latest podcast. I'll put a link to that in the show note, but we go a lot deeper into this eclipse there if you want to get the astrological details. But here we go. We've got Moon, Uranus conjunct in Taurus, opposite Sun, Mercury, Venus, and square, all of that square Saturn in Aquarius. So we just moved into, actually at the moment of the eclipse, a few minutes before the eclipse, the Moon and the Sun move out of that cross-quarter degree, but we're in it now. It's close enough that, it's definitely going to be affecting us. So Taurus is the sign of personal earth. It's esoterically the sign of the earth. And having the eclipse in Taurus is a really powerful moment. And this can be really useful for us if we're aware. But it's important to note that the moon in mundane astrology, which is the study of bigger astrological cycles and how it affects the people, the moon represents the people. So it makes sense why rituals are done on new moons, full moons, and especially eclipses, which are supercharged new moons or full moons. So this is a really powerful energy, and you can, bet your ass that they're going to do their best to affect as many people as possible and create the most chaos, terror, confusion, despair, depression, outrage, all the things that let alone the war, poverty, economic privation, and all that stuff. I mean, it's all things that we can get on, just by going on social media. They can generate all of these, they've got great algorithms, they've got great surveillance, way better than you would like to think. But we won't go there today. But so they are always using social media and legacy media, and then people get all triggered by what they read, and it's all circus, right? These people are all actors, but then people tell their friends, or they transfer that energy to their family members, and then they transfer it to their coworkers. And so, especially during an eclipse, when there's so much energy pouring into the system, and most people have no idea why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. It's almost like this, maybe it is like this fear virus that just spreads from person to person. So the other thing I'd throw in there is, selection day happening at the same time is just a really beautiful, opportunistic moment for the controllers. So whatever happens, with the selections in the US, you've already been told that you're not going to know what happens possibly for a month, until all the votes are tabulated correctly for the people who want them tabulated. And that could be the left or the right. They're both, two wings of the same bird, right? So we don't know what's happening with that right now. But regardless, that's not us. That's not who we really are. And that last thing I'd throw in there is daylight savings time ending. That's a huge deep state destabilization thing. I mean, it might seem minor, but if you've ever had kids and sent them to school the week after the clocks change, that it has a profound effect on our physiology and on our psychology. Maybe subtle, but definitely profound. How do we deal with this, right? Number one, got to get grounded. Get outside, take a walk, go out in the garden, put your feet in the soil, disconnect from screens, man. This is a really great time to just, when you start feeling all like, put the phone down, get off social media, Stop reading the same stories about, what's going to happen with the elections or what's happening in Ukraine or what's happening here, right? Wars and rumors of wars. They love that stuff. They love it when you buy into that. So get off the screen for a little while, at least take a break. Third thing I would say is, and this is where I see this Moon Uranus thing as really, really powerful. So on a personal level, Moon is our emotions. It's our soul energy. It's our inner emotional equilibrium. It's our sense of being balanced emotionally, feeling good or not feeling good. And with Uranus, there's definitely going to be this set of shocks, shock and awe energy. But there's also the opportunity. Uranus is the awakener. So there's opportunity to use the destabilization that comes with the signature of an eclipse like this to clear out old trauma, clear out old stuff, and really move up a level of enlightenment, move up several levels of awareness. I really think this is a quantum leap opportunity, but we have to seize the day. We have to seize the opportunity. And so we need to stay grounded, get off the screens, get off social media, take a break, be in our own energy. And then once we get into our own energy, tune in to what you're feeling, especially if you suddenly find yourself thinking these really negative, fearful thoughts, or your emotions suddenly change and you feel super depressed or full of despair or hopeless. A lot of times, especially in moments like this, those thoughts and those feelings aren't even yours. And Phoenix and I talked a lot about this on the podcast, so I definitely go check out our November forecast over at Cosmic Fire. But I want to reiterate that this is such a great opportunity for recognizing how little of the negative thoughts and feelings you may be experiencing, not just now, but on a day-to-day basis, are actually yours, and how much of them you're picking up from the parasitic matrix hook-ins, from people around you, from the collective, right? So once you tune in, you can just ask yourself, and Tatiana has a great set of tools for this. If you go to her Lightworker Training YouTube channel or Lightworker Training website, I'll put the links to those in the notes here. But you can just ask yourself, how much of that belongs to me? Oh, wow. 2%, 5%. Okay, then you can deal with that 2% or 5%. The rest of it, send it back. You have the power, you have the will, you have the right, and you have the cosmic aid. Your immortal soul, the good forces in the world, to send that stuff back to where it belongs to. It doesn't help anybody for you to be carrying it. So I hope that's helpful. And we got this. We got this. We are the ones. It may feel like the end of the world as we know it, but we can still feel fine, and we can still be fine if we remember who we are. We are eternal spirits. We are sparks of the Creator. We are immortal souls having this experience. So as long as we remember that, and then we use the tools that we have, or learn some new tools, great time to learn new tools right now, we can be totally fine. And in the eternal sense of things, we are totally fine. So I do hope this is helpful. Thanks for tuning in. May you go with the stars.